Nice talking to you.
It's a pleasure, my friend.
Greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
Hello.
Greetings.
Welcome to Black Dot Culture Center. It is a pleasure to have you here in our space, and it's an honor to have Dr. Moore back. I think you almost kick off, this is your second or third year kicking off Black August here?
I'd like to say that, yes.
Something like that. But anyway, today's lecture is going to be Black August Ignites Melanin and the Fire Atoms in You. I don't know about you, but I am very, very interested to see how he's going to break that down. And I don't know, y'all know this person up here?
No.
Yeah,
Do you?
yeah.
Look kind of familiar.
He looks kind of familiar? Look kind of familiar to me
Kind of
too.
familiar?
A
Thank
lot
you.
of familiar.
A lot of familiar?
I like that. A lot of familiar.
Mama,
A lot of familiar.
Mama's been here all day.
Okay.
I want to go get her a pillow so she don't sit in them hard chairs over there. But anyway, this is an exciting evening for us. And again, we want to welcome you and welcome Dr. Moore up to start his presentation. And let's get it going.
Okay, thank you, thank you. First of all, I have to say, I have to ask the elders who are in the audience, is it okay for me to begin speaking?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. So, today, I want to talk,
I'm sorry, sir.
I want to talk about Black August, but I also want to honor the actuality of being here in a place and a space that we own, right?
Yes.
Brother Jamu invited
Oh,
me
yes.
before to speak for Black August, and invited me back again to speak for Black August. So I wanted to make sure we acknowledge the fact that he talked about what we need to do to what? Create black business, right?
Yes.
It's called Think Black.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than just my books, other people have books. But I don't have a bookstore. I don't have a coffee shop. I don't have a culture center, but we have one here. So I thank my elders for allowing me to speak first to continue on. And as we move through Black August, I do have a heavy heart. If you do not know, there's a brother named Minister Clemson Brown, passed away earlier this week. May his soul rest in peace. Brother Clemson Brown has something called TAP Video, Transatlantic Programming, I believe. TAP Video produces all types of videos from Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Ivan Van Sertima. He's interviewed me 3 times. I'm honored that he would even want to put my work out there. If it wasn't for him, I would have known a scholar named Kwaku Ando. Kwaku Ando would be dealing with herbology.
Yes.
If it wasn't for Minister Brown, I wouldn't know that brother. What I'm saying is he's a conduit. It's like Brother Jamu, who has this bookstore, has this opportunity for us to learn new things about us and our culture. You have to explore tapvideo.com and look at all the videos. Here it was saying when he was alive, he was trying to raise money to digitize all the videos. You know, it's a technology age now. So how do we access the information? Well, guess what? The information is there, but that's why we cannot blame white people for what we don't know.
That's right.
The white man is guilty for what we do not know. We're responsible for what we ought to know.
That's right.
So that's why I'm saying I honor my brother, Minister Clemson Brown, passed away in Brooklyn, New York. So we owe part of our conscience to him. Why? Because he exposed you to some scholars you've never heard of before. So on your own, please take your time to do that. He spent his journey trying to help us out, trying to reclaim our minds. So again, I praise you, Brother Ajambo, and also Brother Minister Brown for providing the environments for us to do this. I also have a heavy heart today. I was playing tennis today out in my community, and I got a call from up north. Wow, my middle brother passed away. 70 years old. Brother Ricky Charles Moore. So I give a moment of silence for his soul, who is also transitions. That's what they're doing, rising in power. We must honor those who've come before us, because again, we're at war. We're at war, and this issue of Black August, there's a reason why we call it Black August. Because things happen in Black August, you know that. Things get heated in Black August. Black August is about political prisoners, okay? But when you start talking about this time period and this moment of reflection, y'all saw what happened in Montgomeryville, Alabama. They said the security guard got accosted by these white vigilantes. You call them thugs, call them whatever you want. But they attacked the brother for doing his job. Black people came to the rescue to help that black brother to not be targeted by these white vigilantes. So, y'all know the stories, y'all seen it, but all that was incited by this orange man that was in Alabama the same week. You know that, or maybe you don't know that. He's telling these people that he can get away with crimes. He's telling these people he's not guilty of anything. He's pushing all these stories about stand up and make America great again, all this stuff. It's feeding us certain energy. It's a lot of melanin recessive people think they can do whatever they want to do. I don't know if you remember those old school lectures by Brother Malcolm X, but he says, ain't no more days like those. And so the change has come where people aren't going to keep on taking things. And I had some books here that I only wanted to share because it dealt with back in the day with the lynchings and the murders and the riots and race riots. Really, it was a one-way massacre. But at the hands of a persons unknown, the lynching of Black America. This is by Philip Dre. The White Devil. It says, true story of war, savagery, and vengeance in colonial America. What's deep about this book, and then showing this image here, Black August, Maui. Maui is on fire. In Hawaii, burning up. Whew. It's not just because the hurricane that's there and then the winds and then just tore up all that land. It's because of the deforestation. It's because of the crops that have been put in there that aren't native. It's because of the gentrification that has occurred where you're just putting down concrete. And so all that plays into how the colonizer came in and took that land from the people. The people in Hawaii now are saying, look, ain't no more days like that. Things are going to have to change because Hawaii is on fire. Another book, In Our Town, A Heartland Lynching, A Haunted Town and the Hidden History of White America. So what you saw there happen in Alabama, people think they can still do that. Because you have those enclaves where it's just a few white people living, and they want to keep it that way. Everybody has probably seen Ginsburg's book, 100 Years of Lynching. There's also actually a lynching museum there in Alabama, Montgomery. Brian Stevenson, if you ever get a chance to visit that, goes really deep into the soil of the places where the people were lynched. The names, understanding who these people were, and that's why I'm saying Brother Minister Brown's important, because he's trying to get us to remember. When we lose and remember who we were, that's when they got you. Because you're walking around not yourself. You're walking around like somebody else. Buried in the Bitter Waters. This is written by the guy named Elliot Jasper. The Hidden History of Racial Cleansing in America. About right here in Georgia. He used to work for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. He got fired for writing this book because he's telling stories that you're not supposed to talk about that. You all know about the stories about Lake Lanier, right? Communities that were owned by black people now underwater. So in terms of Black August, these things get ignited during this time of the year. So there's a movie that just came out called Knock at the Cabin. Anybody have Amazon Prime? You ever seen this movie? So you raise your hands if you've seen that movie?
No.
So it's a movie starring David Bautista. Knock at the Cabin. Interestingly, it says apocalyptic psychological horror film. You got these people walking in the woods and they confront a little Asian girl who's now has parents that are not with her at that moment, but this guy, David Bautista, is talking to her as the character. And you couldn't really understand. Shall I tell you the stories about? Or you don't watch it on your own?
No, keep going for me. I'm not going to watch it.
Because what it did, it's 2023, and it almost like predicted what's going on there in Maui right now. We came in for this lecture today. Oh my goodness, did the sky drop out? Stuff is happening everywhere. So there were this couple, the little girl had 2 daddies. So we know what that means. So in that storyline, the people who are coming in to now address them, they're thinking that it's because of their homosexuality or their behavior. But it wasn't because of that. They were saying that, look, one of you 3 has to kill yourself to stop the apocalypse. We're not doing that. So they pinned them up, chained them up. And so all along, the story wasn't really about them as a couple, males raising a little Asian girl. It was about an apocalypse coming. All I'm telling you, guess what? Things are happening in front of us, we're not paying attention. Sometimes the movies are put out there to tell you what's coming. And right now in Maui, on fire. So, Black August, Mississippi. I don't know if you heard about this, but these brothers were accosted by 6 white goons, vigilantes, police officers. These brothers were, it's hard to really explain. You gotta listen to the story themselves. But these white people came to the house, or some neighbors said, these white people, these black people are in the community. Who are they? So these white police officers went in and basically interrogated them and beat them down, put a gun in their mouth. The brother right here had a gun in his mouth.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So they were convicted though, recently. Point is, that's still happening. So Black August, the brother who was the lawyer, Malik Shabazz. Malik Shabazz wrote the book on the Book of Colin. Malik Shabazz, the brothers from the Nation of Islam. Malik Shabazz said, we ain't no more days like this. Went down there and represented those brothers and got those 6 white officers, which has never happened in Mississippi. White people accosting black police officers never happened in Mississippi, so that was taken care of. So again, Black August, things are happening, and we got to put it in perspective that this is a time period of heightened arousal. So there's a brother here in the community called Kalanji Changa. You ever watch or listen to Black Power Media? He's like, in my opinion, the authority on explaining what Black August really deals with. It's dealing with political prisoners. So you get a chance to listen to him on Black Power Media. He talked about really in 1970s, it all started with the assassination of a 21-year-old, and 23-year-old, and 21-year-old. They were all shot at Soledad Prison. And we know about Soledad Brother, written by George Jackson. So I look at and think of Black August because of George Jackson, a name that you should know. Sorry about if I'm moving too fast on that, but I want to get you out of here before the rain comes again. I was in Brazil, and I saw this movie called Augusto Negro. At the end of the movie, they showed this brother running on the grounds at the prison, and they shot him. What's this? That was the end of the movie. So I'm looking back at it as I watched the beginning of the movie. Oh, it was about George Jackson. I'm seeing this over in Brazil. Not in America. I'm seeing it in Brazil. So they're not showing us these kinds of stories here. So just like we just said about those brothers in the last video, or the last slide, George Jackson said, look, anyone who can pass the civil service examination today can kill me tomorrow with complete immunity. And that's what's been going on in places like Mississippi. I think it's happening here in Georgia too. Remember that guy, Ahmaud Arbery? They were caught. It's on video, got him. But guess what? People think that they can just do whatever. It just treats you like an animal. And that's what's going on with the mentality of some people. So we're going to break that down today. So some other recognized political prisoners. Mumia Abu-Jamal still in jail, out of Philadelphia. If you did not know, Batula Shakur just passed away. May his soul rest in peace. Suliat Akola, Leonard Peltier, Jamil El-Amin, here from the Atlanta area, Alabama roots. Why are we saying political prisoners? Because you know they're in jail because of their stance against the system, which is against you. So if we don't support them in that environment, then who are we? So that's why Black August is really here. It's time to commemorate, not celebrating out there like having parades. Ain't nothing about that. It's about maybe fasting, stepping away from things you've done to reflect on what you need to do. Because other brothers are in jail sometimes because they were focusing on our freedom. We're free here, we think we're free, but we step out of the confines of our homes or the confines of establishments like this, we seem to be in battle with people. So, what I want to do today is kind of share some ancient wisdom to tie into why I'm looking at this whole concept of melanin as like fire atoms. Because again, when we talk about Black August and things popping off, you know Nat Turner did his stuff around July. It was caught in August. Not really caught in August, he caught like maybe back in October. But during this time period, white people were fearing. So if you saw what happened there in Alabama, when you saw it, you see all people's statements about what went on from the brother throwing his hat like, oh, here it goes. The brother swimming across the river, oh, Aquaman, all these stories now talking about that. Imagine if you saw the race riots. Imagine if you saw what really happened when their communities were being destroyed. Imagine if you saw that, your thinking would be different. But they don't tell you that. That's what Florida's all about. Don't tell you that. So you don't think that. So even with war, you don't see war. If you did see it, guess what? You might not support war. So imagery is powerful. So we're going to talk a little bit about the power of how things are expressed and explained and how we kind of get confused about it because we don't know the story behind it. So I want to break down this term called Kabafa, lead us into looking at epigenetics, that is how the environment can have an impact on our behavior. If all of us have seen that video and the altercation that happened there in Alabama, I wonder how white people now feel about that. Do they feel like, oh no, tensions are rising, oh, race riots about to occur? That's not our thinking. That's their fear. That's what it's all about, with not allowing you to know your knowledge and your information. So it's not about us being, you know, like I said, warriors going out and kill people. No, it's about defending, self-defense. And that's what they fear when you get to that point. So we'll conclude with energy, because that's all we're talking about, channeling the energy. When all those people who were there in Montgomery protected that brother, it's about what? Energy. What are we going to do to stick together? And it's not about a matter of attacking other people. No, it's about just taking care of your own. And that's where we need to be as a people. So, you've all heard this term called melanin. But what is melanin? It's a Greek word. Melano comes from a Greek word meaning black. So what does that really mean? To even say black people, what does that mean? Because we're all different shades. Brown, coffee, red bone, all kinds of names, right? So what does black really mean? So melanin is Greek-derived word to describe pigmented aspects of life. You can have melanin in mushrooms. You can have melanin in the sky, melanin in dirt, in your skin, your brain. So all that melanin, is that all the same? That's what we got to break down. So ba, ka, ba, and fa, ka. If you did not know, there are 7 divisions of the soul. You can look at this, and I'll mention the books that can show you this. The 7 divisions of the soul: Ka, Ba, Kaba, Aku, Se, Puta, and Atmu. All these divisions are from what our ancient ancestors studied. We only say soul today. Soul brother, soul sister. We just say soul, just that by itself. But it goes a little bit more deep into this. And so I'm saying, when you see the word Ka, it's represented by 2 hands raised. It's a sign of surrender. You see the hieroglyphics? A sign of 2 hands raised. It's the first division of the soul. The second one is called Ba. It's represented by a human-headed bird. A human-headed bird. Until you pass and go, your breath is still with you. Some agua?
Yeah. You need some water or something?
Good? Okay. So, Ba, the breath. So, that's the second division of the soul. So, when we're speaking of the importance of our environment, the body's important. But you know, if you have no breath, there's no life. The third one is Fa. Why? Because who here has read George G.M. James' book, Stone Legacy? Stone Legacy. In that book, have you ever seen the word fire atoms? You've seen that? What did they talk about? What is that?
I don't want to.
Okay. But you do remember that?
Wow.
I overlooked all that. So you're an artist.
Yeah.
So you're an artist.
That's right.
So was there any reason why that may have attracted you, thinking about fire atoms back in the day?
Because I'm very into learning about the body, mind, and soul. So
Okay.
it's like learning about the different parts of your soul and like fire atoms, like you said. It was like individually, like the smaller parts of yourself.
Right. Well, you were in the right place then to discuss this, because if they talked about this in ancient times, we are now here contemplating this. So this is not like me saying, oh, I'm creating something new that has never been thought about. No, I'm trying to make it conceptualized so we can now take it to the level to explain why people came together. For example, like Montgomery. What's going on with our organization, where we can now fight together, but you see how things have been done to dismantle us so we don't stay together. So Kabafa is just the term that I'm saying. It deals with the power of pigmentation as the essence of life in all elements that exist in the world. Kabbalah drives the flow of energy we see and can't see. Energy is everywhere. How do you tap into that? It could be negative energy. And guess what? Some people tap into that. Get a lot of negative people like hang around with negative people. But positive energy becomes a situation where you now take it to another level of consciousness. So I'm saying Kabbalah means awakening the grand omnipotent design in you. We all have it. We all can express it. But if you don't understand it, it's not going to be acknowledged. So Kabbalah is our psychological understanding of melanin. So check this out. If you think about the days and times before we were roaming the world and it was us, everyone had it and displayed it until they were discovered. I need to break that down, and y'all do that one. Everyone had it and displayed it until they were discovered. Us, we are just being until some foreigner came in, some melanin recessive individual came in looking at you, discovered you. Now we got issues. You are recognizing the beauty of your body by having maybe your body just open in the world. Breast shown, your legs there. White people had it all covered up. Maybe they didn't like their bodies, but saw you, my goodness, discovered you, changed the whole world of how we think today. So when we're saying they discovered us, I'm saying it's because in that mindset, it changed everything. We no longer didn't think like us, like we used to. So I wrote the books. Sister Kennedy asked me, why do you write this? Why do you even go into this topic? Why are you talking about melanin? So I wrote The Science of Melanin in 95 to talk about the importance of it in multiple aspects of our body, but also the material spiritual connection. I threw in some technology in there. So that's 1995. Things have fast forwarded. Now melanin is $1 billion industry. 95. 2002 I wrote Dark Matters, Dark Secrets to go a little more into the brain, talk about the pineal gland, talk about drug addiction. Throw in some contemporary discussions. When I say dark matter, we're talking about the universe. There is dark matter in the universe, also dark energy. So for us, in our bodies, we're nothing but a microcosm of the macrocosm. How do you tap into that? That's the power when we deal with this word Kabbalah. That's how you tap into it. So we're pigment power, and right before, or really around the pandemic time, I got a chapter in there to talk about pigment power defense system, chapter 12. So I went in hardcore deep about our bodies and how there are differences, why things can affect us differently, and it does relate to the biology and that melanin. But I also talked about some more contemporary issues and topics. So again, pigment power. So that's what we are, what we're talking about, our importance of studying ourselves. Many have come before us to discuss this. Gerald Massey had laid the groundwork. European scholar back in the 1800s, wrote Ancient Egypt, Light of the World. I mean, he's written books that gave, like Charles Finch, Dr. Ben, information that was kind of hidden from us, but he put it together for us to have it in a different knowledge base. But a lot of European scholars aren't going to talk about Gerald Massey. George G. and James just talked about him, the book he wrote called Stolen Legacy. Talking about how the Greeks really stole our history. And you still have today white people saying, oh, that's false history. That's a myth. That's not even true. Well, where's your evidence to refute that? Really isn't it? It's just a matter of how they kind of defend themselves. You're up against the wall, you're going to come back fighting anywhere you can. And that's what they're doing now, like in Florida. Check.
Check.
Naim Akbar. Visions, Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery. Wrote a book on Light from Ancient Africa. So you got scholars that have been here going the wrong way. Scholars that have been here that have talked about these things, and scholars that are still here. So the last three are still alive. You got Wade Nobles, black psychologist out of San Francisco State, retired, but he has been a foundation for the start of the Association of Black Psychologists. Wayne Chandler wrote a book called Ancient Future. I'm not sure if you have that.
Yes.
So Ancient Future goes into the whole issue of teachings of prophetic wisdom.
My favorite.
All right, talks about Hermes, which really is Tahuti and Thoth, African terms. So I'm saying I support black books. If you want a black book, go to a black bookstore to get a black book. So that's Brother Akbar's book, light from ancient Africa, so we want to study those divisions of the soul and go a little bit more in depth. That book would provide that for you. And then Brother Wade Nobles wrote a book called Seeking the Saku. We really should be calling ourselves Saku Shetis, so Sakuologists. Not psychology. Psyche is a Greek word meaning minds. But Saku goes into the soul. So Saku now goes a little more deep into the manifestation of things I'm discussing here, but it means she, the illumination, the all-seeing eye. And you know we're just a spiritual people. How do you define that? How do you study spirit? Can you go to the lab and now push a button and say, oh, there's a spirit? Not really. But you can understand a feeling that expresses spirit. And that's what we need to start maybe defining. So these scholars are at the forefront of doing that. So then that's Brother Wayne Chandler. Had a chance to meet him. Actually wrote the credits on the back of his book before I actually met him. Met him in Fisk University. He's up in Cleveland, Ohio, travels around the world. I consider him a master photojournalist. I mean, he goes around the world showing you in India the images of black people who've been there, in China. He documents the history of things that we haven't been told in school. Roanoke Rashidi, another one, and his soul, rest in peace, is gone. Did the same thing, traveled the world, took pictures, showed you, documented who we were as a people. So as I then listen to them, and then if you go yourself and travel, hey, you have a different perspective. So I got a chance to travel to Kemet, the land of the blacks. Up top here, this is Sigmund Freud's office. You see those motifs, those statues. Osiris, Imhotep, Isis. On Sigmund Freud's desk. At the top of his couch, there's a picture of Abu Simbel, straight out of Africa. I should have a shirt on right here, straight out of Africa. But I got a Black Panther shirt on. Straight out of Africa. So you're gonna tell me he didn't know about African people? Oh, of course they did. That psychoanalysis and all that stuff, dealing with the underworld. One of his students, Carl Jung, took that and started talking about the collective unconscious. I wonder where they got that from. So when you look at the picture and you go to Africa, that's what it is right there, Abu Simbel. We should start calling things by our names. It really is Ramesses Meriamun, but carved out of the rock. Anybody here been there yet? See it? You walk inside and there's more stuff. Like, my goodness, how did they even do this? So, seeing that and knowing that other people had studied our stuff, that means they took our stuff, manipulated it, and now we don't even know what we're looking at. You know how many people hate Africa? Hate being African? Hate being who they are because they don't know themselves? But once you go and see, once you start reading those people who were there, this is Count Bowling. He's just like Gerald Massey, just like Godfrey Higgins. White scholars who white people right now don't support. Why? Because they're talking about the realities of those Africans back in the day. Count Bowling wrote The Ruins. He was around during the time period of Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson had a place here called Monticello, Virginia. Count Bowling visited him. Count Bowling's there traveling with Napoleon, going there what? See, Africa. He's drawing the images, and there's a famous quote in there about the people who are despised today, called barbarians, are the people or the builders of those pyramids. This white man is saying that he's there at that time period, seeing what those images look like. So he's traveling with Napoleon. Napoleon says religion is necessary. Without it, the poor will kill the rich. So you see how things have been pushed on us to have us not think in the right way to what fight for ourselves. Religion has been used. But when we start reading scholars who've been telling the story differently, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Scholars who tell the story differently, now you can see why we've been bamboozled and confused. So, I traveled there and I saw it. Hor-im Akhet, Horus on the horizon. Not the Sphinx, it's white people's terminology. As the Greek said it was. Horus on the horizon. When you see that, there's still color on the headdress. Yes, the nose is gone, but it was there. And people drew what the nose looked like back in the day. So the imagery, there's no possible way white people are hanging out in the sand and hot sun building this. It's not even logical. But they got you thinking that they built all this, they created all this. Not possible. So, when we look at geopolitics, Napoleon talked about, making sure that black people would never rise again. My decision to destroy the authority of the blacks in Haiti is based on the need to block forever the march of blacks in the world. That's what Napoleon is saying as he's traveling around the world. But as he got his butt kicked by the Haitians, that's why America then expanded. The Louisiana Purchase, hopefully you're still learning that in school. If not, you should. Yes, brother.
Could you define geopolitics for concept?
Geo means the whole world. What is your place in it? If they don't show you, you never see your position in politics. So when you talk about geopolitics and put yourself in the maybe center, oh, now it's a little bit different. So if I could show y'all see what's going on in Africa right now?
Which part?
Nigeria.
Yeah, Nigeria, yeah.
So I want to play this one part about an interview that's not happening.
Is it on the presentation?
No, I can just show it real quick to the group. It's only about 2 minutes of a brother from Burkina Faso saying what's going to happen to their country there in Burkina Faso. Because you got Niger, Mali, all these places that are connected, but it's like one of those ain't no more days like those. So if you can listen to this brother explain in a deep, strong way about geopolitics.
Questions my generation is asking are the following. If I can summarize it.
You brought up? That's technology.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you playing, and we got a pro.
So I'll let her get that. I want to explain to you again about geopolitics, because as we're traveling the world, there's got to be a reason why black people in those places are always poor. What's creating that? That's why I have a problem with the fake Black Panther. This is the real Black Panther, Oakland, California, where it started. I got a problem with the fictitious movie stuff. Why? Because you got the CIA involved.
Yeah.
Even the second Black Panther with Wakanda, wherever you got now the Mayans fighting black people over white people. That's it right. That's a little louder than mine. That one segment where the brother was standing strong and firm, coming from a place that Thomas Sankara, strong warrior, stood up, was assassinated by the government, the geopolitical states, Europeans. You heard of Lumumba? Patrice Lumumba?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
What part of Africa?
Man, he was a signal. I know.
He was a signal.
No? But, okay, Lumumba, you know.
Yeah.
Patrice Lumumba was not a Sigma, he was a brother from the Congo. The Congo.
President, the former president.
He was the prime minister.
Prime Minister.
That was assassinated by who? CIA and that government over there. That's geopolitics. Why was he assassinated? What's in the Congo?
Cobalt.
Cobalt, uranium, minerals, resources, the stuff that you need to make your cell phones work, coltan. That's geopolitics. Keep the black people arguing and fighting themselves.
In Niger.
Okay, that works. That works. Yeah, we can hear it now.
Keep the black people fighting themselves. And guess what? They maintain resources. So what does Niger have? Uranium.
Yeah.
Uranium. And French don't want black people controlling their own resources. And that's what this brother's about to say. Go ahead, Kimmy, put it on.
Traoré, who took power in a coup in September, recently spoke in Moscow during the Russia-African summit. He criticized what he called imperialist neocolonialism.
The questions my generation is asking are the following. If I can summarize, it is that we do not understand how Africa, with so much wealth on our soil, with generous nature, water, sunshine and abundance, how Africa is today the poorest continent. Africa is a hungry continent, and how come there are heads of state all over the world begging? These are the questions we are asking ourselves, and we have no answers so far. We have the opportunity to forge new relationships, and I hope that these relationships can be the best ones to give our people a better future. My generation also asks me to say that because of this poverty, They are forced to cross the ocean to try to reach Europe. They die in the ocean, but soon they will no longer have to cross because they will come to our palaces to seek their daily bread. As far as what concerns Burkina Faso today, for more than 8 years we've been confronted with the most barbaric and the most violent form of imperialist neocolonialism. Slavery continues to impose itself on us. Our predecessors taught us one thing: a slave who cannot assume his own revolt does not deserve to be pitied. We do not feel sorry for ourselves. We do not ask anyone to feel sorry for us. The people of Burkina Faso have decided to fight against terrorism in order to relaunch their development.
So that is Burkina Faso's interim leader.
Geopolitics. With me now? You good?
Yeah, I seen that movie.
Yeah, but you wouldn't with the term geopolitics. Because this is real, because we're talking about the reason why white people don't want black people controlling, or you even have a conceptualization of Africa, they don't want you linking up. You link up, that changes how they perceive things. You don't see no buildings in Africa when you watch the news and TV. You don't see no paved streets. You see just black people and African people, dark-skinned people killing one another. That's the image they want you to see, but it's not like that. But the French have people on both sides of the war. They fed that so-called Islamic infestation, Boko Haram and all this Islamic stuff fighting the Christians, and they fed that stuff. So they've now create drones or military systems over there. You got in Nigeria, middle of that place where people are starving, you got the drone palaces, where there are now the central place where they launch these so-called raids. We got to stop stepping and fetching on this. There was a leader at the top of Africa that was killed under Obama. What's the name of the leader? Gaddafi. Under a black president, a black leader was killed on the continent of Africa. Geopolitics. So if we don't understand that, can't win the war. So I wanted to show that because I'm saying that contemporary times, y'all brother ain't playing. And he comes from a time period of a brother named Thomas Sankara, wasn't playing. Patrice Lumumba wasn't playing. Those people who don't play, white people got to take them out.
Yeah.
We don't support ourselves. Malcolm X wasn't playing. Take them out. We have to support ourselves. If we don't do that, we're in trouble. So, what are we fighting? This thing called a Vertical virus. There's a Native American named Jack Forbes who wrote a book. He wrote called Columbus and Other Cannibals. But a contagious psycho-spiritual disease. It is like an autoimmune disease of the psyche. When you get an autoimmune disease of the body, like multiple sclerosis, lupus, things that start attacking your own cells. This is a psycho-spiritual one we're talking about. It's an Algonquin word for a cannibalistic spirit that is driven by greed, excess, and selfish consumption. That is not African people. That's a foreigner, that's an invader, that's a colonizer that thinks like that. Everywhere they go, they gotta take, pillage, and decimate. That's not how African people think. The native peoples of the lands don't think like that either. So we have a situation where there's something going on where it deludes its host into believing that cannibalizing the life force of others is a logical and morally upright way to live. That's why they're in Hawaii. Many of them native Hawaiians don't like white people. You even got a name for them. Don't like these foreigners, these colonizers. So you know the name?
Hollies.
Huh?
Hollies.
Yes, they don't like them.
Hollies?
Hollies.
So you spell that?
I have no idea. All I know is
Are
that's
you
it.
saying Holly
Yeah.
Howley. Howley.
with a W? Howley?
Howley.
So they despise those people that came in, and now we see the devastation of places like Maui. That's just one island. But the European is winning and colonizing the area, but changed the landscape, changed the way people look at it and feel, and it's altered the consciousness.
Yeah.
So the Vertical disease, again, we're talking about a virus in a person's mind that wants to go out and just kill everything. That's not us. So Jack Forbes wrote this book called Columbus and Other Cannibals. May his soul rest in peace. He's now deceased. Jack Forbes, Native American writer. So to move on to the melanin component, I wrote Why Darkness Matters along with my colleagues Ed Bruce Bynum, Ann Brown, and Richard King, and myself. And it's so sad, here I am talking all this, the death and destruction, not destruction, the death of the souls that have moved on. Because one of these is gone. Richard King passed away. fellow author, fellow colleague, may his soul rest in peace, in power, as you say.
Yes, empowered.
So he was at the forefront of talking about the black dot consciousness and how there's like a mental nerve tract in our brain that gives us this understanding of the underworld. That leads us to this concept we're talking about with spirit. We all dream, but how do you control those dreams? What are the chemical bases of your dreams? Can you have dream states when you're awake? I mean, so this issue of understanding the elements of life and spirit, we go a little bit deep into this component by talking about, for me, the where it is in the brain. Sister Ann Brown is a biochemist. Brother Bruce Bonham is a clinical psychologist. He goes into the meditation and the deep places that you can now initiate the way melanin works in the brain. And then Richard King, as a psychiatrist, he breaks it down and looks at the history. Some of these terms we talked about with Ka and Ba, he goes a little bit deeper into that. So that's why we wrote Why Darkness Matters. So I have a new chapter in the most recent edition, and it's chapter 5. Yes.
Respectfully, who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah, you didn't talk about that for me.
No, I figured most people may know me. If not, I need to introduce myself.
A little bit.
Midstream. All right. I went to Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, HBCU. Kwame Nkrumah actually went to Lincoln University.
Did you major in African studies?
No, actually psychology.
Gotcha.
So Kwame Nkrumah, Nnamdi Azikiwe, both leaders of their African countries when they went back to Africa. So the HBCUs have a strong role to play. You don't have HBCUs in Brazil. You don't have HBCUs in other countries. You have them right here. You don't have them in England. You have them right here. So HBCUs provide the sustenance for fighting. So I went on and got my graduate degree from Howard University. Again, psychology.
In psychology.
So physiological psychology. So I'm a neuroscientist by training. So you may want to ask, well, how do you know all this African stuff? Ain't no stuff about your history. Because the white man is guilty for what we are not. We are responsible for what we ought to be. That's from Maulana Karinga. He doesn't know who he is. He helped start a certain holiday that we should be celebrating called Kwanzaa. So the names, the people, and the times, we must circulate that because it's going to die.
Yeah.
You saw in Maui, all them trees are burned up and the places they're going, this information is going to get going. If we don't take pride in understanding ourselves, so for me now to then go to these HBCUs and now to give back, I went and taught my first school at Morehouse College. 92 to 98. I still travel the world and see people, oh yeah, I was at Morehouse that time. You were there. I was in Brazil. Met a brother who was there at the same time. What? Left Morehouse, went to Clark Atlanta University. Clark Atlanta University, served as a chairperson there. I also went to Fayetteville State University in North Carolina, so I've been around a little bit. So, look just as young as you, I've been around a little bit. Ready to retire, be like some other people, I've been around a little bit. But it's all about giving back. So, to know who I am, as the scholar on here, I'm the biomedical researcher, scholar, African intellectual scientist, so that's who I am. Enough? Sure. All right. There's another sister named Jewel Pookrum, if you ever heard of her name.
Oh, yes.
We've done some.
Dr. Jewel.
Yeah, she wrote a book called Vitamins and Minerals A to Z, but we had a program called the Melanology Hour, where we break some of these things down every week, dealing with melanin, and she's still here. Her soul is still vibrant and doing her thing. So, in chapter 5 of George G. and James' book, it talks about fire atoms. And so I'm saying that fire atoms are the carbon-based molecule we call melanin. Melanin is a pigment that gives us color. It is like the chlorophyll in plants. When you see green and the green stuff, that's chlorophyll. That's the pigment. Without it, that plant's not going to exist. It's the same thing with your body. So without pigmentation, life would cease to exist. So George J. M. James wrote what he read about somebody named Democritus. Democritus was a philosopher back in the times. If you think about it, Greek history is 640 to 322 BC. That's a little bit of history. That's thousands of years after the pyramids and that's Forum Makhet and all those temples were built. Thousands of years after. And so you can't say that that little bit of history is what they learned. Nah, they stole that stuff and wrote it down the way they conceptualized it. So in there, and we don't know how our ancient African ancestors were really looking at it, but he says the atom in sensation and knowledge, atom, the most finite part of a molecule, which has what? Electrons and protons and things circulating around. And you think about the universe we're living in, things circulating around like planets, right? The mind or soul is composed of fire atoms. Because we can all think of just having a mind. Dr. Clark has always talked about the first person ever sneezed. You still feel it. Our mind, we're all connected some way when we start thinking about something. Because you got some similarities, but that's where they got us, by not having us control of our own minds. That's why TV is dangerous. It's telling you a vision. That's why radio is dangerous, because it's throwing in sounds and it's throwing in words and putting words with the music, and now you're thinking on the lower level. Raoul Neframin wrote a book called Melanin, right? Volumes 1 and 2. It talks about Sahu man, being on a lower level of consciousness. The media creates that. I know we're here having a good time tonight, and even the same amount of people seeing Beyonce tonight. I mean, she's here 3 nights, right? That's what people are, right? They want to see that.
Yeah.
And you see, we're dancing our lives away. Our consciousness is exploited in the wrong way. Y'all saw what happened to Essence Music Festival. Y'all saw what happened. Somebody shaking their head, but y'all know what happened. You had a black woman performing, like Janelle Monáe, flashing her breasts. You had Megan Thee Stallion, all that stuff, doing all the twerking on stage. You got grandma there showing her little daughter. Now I want to see all that. That's black people doing that to black people. So NDRE, strong sister, positive, uplifting music, critique those sisters for doing that. Hey, that's your thing. That's what you want to do. However, there's the right time. There's a time and place for that. NDRE said there's a right time and place to that. Black community wanted to grill her. Whoa. The black community wanted to vilify NDRE for speaking up about having some mores, some customs, and some culture. So when we deal with the issue of consciousness, again, the system puts us on a certain level where our minds are manipulated. So it says back there in the ancient times, the finest, the smoothest, and the most mobile. What could that even be? Because melanin is everywhere. It's in the universe. These fire atoms are distributed throughout the whole universe in all animate things, and especially in the human body, where they are found in the largest numbers. Now this is written or documented there like 400 or 500 BC. Our ancient African ancestors were exploring things deeper than that beforehand, because the people who were looking at that, they weren't building the pyramids. They just analyzed it. So this nous, the mind, the soul. I'm saying melanin is the substance that connects all that, because it could be in your skin, it could be in your eye, it could be in your brain, it could be in the cosmos. It's tapping into a certain energy that you might be able to fly again. You know, see the way we play basketball, just jumping. We might be able to do some things that we didn't imagine before. So when we tap into it, we're in a good situation. So chemically in the body, you have what needs to make you a god. That is a grand, omnipotent person. Chemicals. If you ever heard of any of those chemicals on the left side for you, they're in the brain. They're in the body. They affect your mood and your behavior. Dopamine, euphoria. Norepinephrine, excitement. Acetylcholine, movement. GABA, slows you down. Glutamate, excitation. Phenylalanine, tyrosine. These are chemicals that are like the amino acids. If you ever heard of amino acids, they're the building blocks of proteins. No building blocks, guess what? Nothing else comes from them. Lego blocks. If you don't have a little few Lego blocks, you're not going to build anything. So those amino acids are critical. So melatonin, perhaps you heard of that. Serotonin. Melatonin talks about the pineal gland, nighttime. Serotonin, pineal gland, daytime. The endocrinology of sunlight and darkness. Talk about that in Dark Matters, Dark Secrets. The pineal gland then becomes a source, an organ that now is responsive to the environment that can energize our kabbalah. That means keeps us linked to nature. In the way that the sun, in the way that the moon goes up and down, guess what? In your body, in your brain, the same thing happens. Chemically. Right side here. Now these are what? External substances. External contents that can do some of the same things. DMT, dimethyltryptamine, is a book by Richard Straussman called Spirit Molecule. What? Spirit molecule. Carbonate, beta carbonate. Talking about these chemicals that are in our brain that gives us a higher state of consciousness. So there's a book written about that. Marijuana. Gives people certain states of consciousness. Cocaine heightens your feelings, makes you stimulate. Phenylcyclidine, PCP. People call it angel dust on the street. Some people say it makes you feel like you're Superman. That's why the white men beat Rodney King down. Said he was on PCP. They're gonna probably think all y'all on PCP. As they keep attacking you, think all y'all drugged up. But PCP, opium chills you out. Amphetamine stimulates you. Alcohol slows you down. LSD gives you hallucinogenic experiences. And now MDMA. Perhaps you heard of ecstasy. They're using this for medical treatments now. So you got a drug on the market that sounded like, something to be used wrongly. But white folks are now using it for medicine, like for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Schizophrenia. So some of these chemicals can certainly be helpful, beneficial. It's a matter of how we use them. So, and then even the chemicals on the left side there, that's what you have naturally. But can you imagine it being depleted? If it's depleted, then guess what? It's not going to work right. So in your brain is where they work. So that's why it's kind of disheartening that people don't really like studying the brain, because the brain is the most elaborately constructed entity in the universe. All the ins and outs and the nooks and the crannies and the cavities, and to me it's beautiful. Some people don't like all that stuff. Too many big names, big words. Substantia nigra. Up top, substantia nigra. Nigra is Latin for black substance. Deep in your brain, the middle part of your brain. So, if it's not working, you have a disease called Parkinson's disease. Tremors, arrest, fascination, people shuffle when they walk. So, that means if it's not working, you got a problem. It's dark, colored, melanated, produces dopamine. Responds to dopamine. So anything impact the dopamine, and that area not working right, the person has some movement problems. I like to look at it on the level of, guess what? Suppose it worked right. You be playing football like we do. Can't catch us. Playing basketball, tennis, anything that deals with psychomotor skill development, we take to a higher level. That's the Kabafa work. Red nucleus. Quickly, red nucleus, 2 center dots right in the middle of the brain, the midbrain. They're like mirror neurons. Think about a mirror. You see a little baby and you do, ha, baby, ha. It's responding to you. Those are mirror neurons. Those neurons light up. They're dark in color, called red nucleus. Kind of iron laden, like iron metal. So that's what gives its color and stain. But these dark areas in the brain are melanated. They don't work right. Your consciousness is affected. Locus coeruleus, Sanskrit, the Indian word for blue dot. So it's in that brain stem. And I don't have a picture here, but if you took an overripe banana, slice it, saw the little like black dots and C's in the middle of it, that's kind of what we're talking about along the brain stem where some of these dark cells are. Okay. Nucleus accumbens, very important. Also ventral tegmentum, they go in hand for the mesolimbic system, making you feel good. People who take drugs, the reinforcing properties of the drugs stimulate that area, called the mesolimbic system. What do they stimulate? Dopamine. So I say addiction is a disease because it's changed the brain. So yeah, people can break away from it, but it takes some work, but it's changed the brain. And then the tectum, it's just the top part of the midbrain. It's like the roof, tegmentum is the floor. So in between the roof and the floor, there's a whole lot of cells. So inside those cells are where we're talking about, there's some real important functioning for the body. Hippocampus, do not remember, it does a memory. Should be one of the easiest ones to remember. Hippocampus, it's like 2 seahorse-shaped structures right in your temporal lobes, size of your brain. If they're not working right, it's hard to remember things. We know a lot about this because of a certain patient named HM who had epilepsy. What is epilepsy? An abnormal firing of cells. So this patient who had epilepsy, the way they try to relieve it is to take those brain parts out. And it worked. But the person lost the memory. Had anterograde amnesia, couldn't remember new things anymore. So this is when scientists knew that this part of the brain was very important for memory. And there's certain drugs that enhance your memory or take it away. You ever see that movie called Limitless? Guy popping some pills and remember everything. Maybe a whole lot of chemicals out there that can help you do that. Amygdala deals with emotion. So right at the end of that hippocampus, 2 little almond-shaped structures that deal with fear and aggression. guess what? All the things we're watching, as we talked about at the beginning of this presentation, what happened in Montgomery, what you're seeing in Maui, people seeing trauma, that sticks in your brain. It sticks in the amygdala. So it's like a quick fear response as soon as you see it again. That's why sometimes it's not good to see trauma over and over being shown to us.
It'll give us a little bit of serotonin.
Which impacts mood. Absolutely. So, the advantages of melanin functioning, number one, it's an antioxidant. I don't know if you got any coffees here to deal with, serve as antioxidants. Rooibos tea from South Africa.
I don't have that tea.
Rooibos tea. So that's from the continent. It's supposed to be very good
Familiar
for
with that tea?
It's an antioxidant. Rooibos tea. So antioxidant means chemicals that can prevent your cells from deteriorating. So we're talking about in the body and outside the body. That's why your melanin keeps you looking young. It's preventing that toxicity that's floating out there. Because with this light shining right here, if we were in a certain position, we can see that dust floating just from the light, because it's everywhere. Breathing in, ingesting it, so dust is everywhere. And those dust are viruses. That's why the coronavirus was pretty significant, because it's got our bodies from every angle. But our melanin helps to fight and prevent disease accumulation. So as an antioxidant, you might hear food substances that are very important. You go to the store and you hear about berries, right? Antioxidants, and blueberries, and certain kinds of berries. What are they? Pigmented. Same things happen in your body. 2, nerve conduction facilitator. Helps your nerves move quicker and faster. If that's the case, that's why you see you have quick reaction times. We say psychomotor skill development, that's why you do things a little bit quicker and faster. So the melanin in those areas of the brain, we know what happens when there's a deficit with the Parkinson's disease and movement, but you start dancing like you do when you have it working right. Energy transformer. Everywhere you see it in the body, it's helping to transform energy into something the body can recognize. To make it simple, you see light, but you don't really see light. You see light, but how's the eye interpreting it? On the back of your eyeball is a retina. It's dark pigment there. If it's not dark and pigmented, you can't see. You're basically blind. So white reflects, dark absorbs. So there you have it. In your ear, there's inner ear melanin. That's why you hear certain tunes and sounds that some people don't hear.
And you have better rhythm.
That goes hand in hand. That goes hand in hand. So to be able to, anybody hear a rap artist? You hear a rap artist? So you, if I threw this mic to you, you can kick a verse right now without a problem?
Yes, he can.
Yes, he can.
He's being humble.
And that is higher brain functioning. That's what I'm trying to say. Because it ain't easy. And then to stay on beat and to do that, it's not easy. So yes, I'm saying that when you're hearing that in the brain and then to make it manifest and come out, that's higher brain functioning. Some people, they say, who can't dance, they maybe listen to the words. That's why they're dancing to the words, not the music, the rhythm. So we voted 2-4 on the bass beat. They
I don't know what they.
don't know what they did.
Yeah, I'm not.
So John Coltrane, they say he was on another level. They said he had the blue note. Certain people couldn't hear. And that saxophone, the blue note. What was that? So he revolutionized music. All of our people revolutionized music. From Michael Jackson, Prince, you name it, we revolutionized and changed. Jimi Hendrix, no matter what we touch with an instrument, we changed and revolutionized. And the drum was important. Drum, hearing, bass, movement. They eradicated the drums, so you wouldn't have a drum no more. Here in the States. But you go to Brazil, you go to Cuba, you go to places where African history and traditions are carried on, the drum's still important. Not here. Because they knew. You start playing that drum, they don't know what you're saying. You're saying, uh-oh, the boss is coming, uh-oh. Oh, revolution at midnight, uh-oh. So they want to eradicate the drum so you don't use it. So energy transformers. So everywhere, like sound for the ear, vision, photons, the eye, and then think about the skin. You ever have any bad vibes about some people? Where's that being manifested? In your gut? I can work with that. Because the gut and the brain are connected.
Absolutely.
But
The arms.
you feel something? You know, because you can close your eyes and walk past somebody. Your eyes are closed, but you feel something there. So the skin, as the largest organ in the body, also receives this energy. So, I'm going to fast forward through this, because I know I ain't here to have no brain discussion. But those dark areas, I'm saying, like you say, if you slice the banana, look at the seeds and darkness in the banana, along this brain stem, the mental nerve tract, midbrain. If those cells are not darkly pigmented, then behavior is altered. There's the brain. You see it's a brain. It's like a sagittal section of the brain. Those arrows are showing the way the fluid flows around the brain, in the brain. The fluid is called cerebrospinal fluid. You ever heard of somebody having a spinal tap?
Yeah.
You get that needle in the area that's close to the nervous system, easier to do it there, and they puncture it to take the fluid out, the cerebrospinal fluid. Where all those arrows are flowing is where the spinal fluid is flowing. It can potentially get blocked, as in one of those cavities blocks it, and the brain's then deformed. So deep in the brain, you see that cavity area right there? That's the pineal gland, floating in fluid.
Is the amygdala on here?
Amygdala would be deep, not on this side, I can show you another one, but
Okay.
it would be kind of like in the front here.
Gotcha.
So it's in the temporal lobes, right around above your cheek area. So this is just showing you the flow of the chemicals. What I want to emphasize is that when you're dreaming at nighttime, that melatonin kicks in, and at certain times of the night you're dreaming more than others. I don't know, when you just wake up, or maybe some food items you eat and now you dream a little bit more. It's like, I know I should eat that popcorn or something like that. And so there's certain items that can now stimulate certain chemicals, and then as they flow, I'm saying that the pineal gland is sitting in fluid, it's easy attraction for the chemicals that are flowing. And that's why it stimulates that enlightenment, that feeling. You ever see that little child with that top of the head is kind of soft? The fontanelles haven't formed yet. It's still soft. I say it's because that it's still in that realm with spirits. Even in your families. You ever notice a situation where someone passes away in the same year somebody is born?
Say what? Say it again, please.
In the same year, could be
I did. I cannot. Okay. I
like
heard
12
you.
months. Someone passed away when there's someone is born.
Yeah.
It's problematic for us as people because we don't follow our gene lines anymore. Don't know our families anymore, and don't have that connection anymore. But it happens in your genetics, your little spiritual connection to the world. So this is another section of the brain. It's called sagittal section. Deep down the bottom is the pituitary, and if you go deep up the top, the pineal. It's like these two organs. What's called you learn about the pituitary is the master gland. Pituitary master gland. The pineal, if it's responding to sunlight and the moon, it's got to be the master gland. The hormones that are released from the pituitary help you out with your development. You know, they help to organize your body as you get older. Things get bigger or change that go on. That's the pituitary gland. And if you see, it's also like sitting down here by itself, but it's actually covered in bone, not just fluid. So you say the amygdala is right here. Almond-shaped structure, deep in like the cheek area. So people can stimulate it, cause rage. Take it out, you ain't scared of anything. You can go to the laboratory and do that. Stimulate it, take it out. Manipulate a person's behavior. So does that mean they can do it just by watching something?
Environmental factors are huge.
What was that?
Environmental factors are huge.
And that's what I'm saying, TV's dangerous. Especially environmental factors are huge.
Thank you.
So the external things that are going on around us, automatically. Can you know how quickly you respond to hold it real quick. How quickly you respond to that? That's the brain doing that. Doesn't have to go, it goes straight to the amygdala. Doesn't have to go anywhere, straight to the amygdala, responding to that. So the power of manipulating that, that's why we're in trouble. So deep in the brain again, this is the way that those dark areas were, the medulla oblongata. If you ever heard of medulla? I think some people rap about medulla. You got a rap song for the medulla oblongata?
I actually do.
Go ahead, throw it. Just a bit the mic. Hey, down.
Yeah.
The medulla.
I forgot what the verse was, man. I said, I'm shocked. Oh yeah, I said I'm diamond mining and mountain climbing in my medulla. That's what I said.
Tell them how to start off. How the verse start.
Yeah.
I said, damn, you remember that verse? I said,
Shaka Zulu.
oh yeah, I'm Shaka Zulu with the Manda Kufu. I said, I'm young Montezuma with the suede pumas. I'm Martin Luther King with the heart to shoot you.
Okay.
This black plague and La Pluma giving the page tumors. To kill up haters that see you shining and wage rumors. I've been mountain climbing and diamond mining in my medulla.
So medulla is important for your vital functions.
Your what function?
V-I-T-A-L, vital.
Vital.
Can't do without it. You're gonna die. Breathing, respiration, eating. All the cells that are important that come out of here, the fibers and the nerves, if that ain't working, in trouble.
Shut down.
That's why when people commit suicide, you don't shoot yourself up here, because it's going straight to where the medulla is. Next slide, we don't talk about that, right? So, the substantia nigra, black substance, locus coeruleus, see how they are deeply entrenched? Ain't no sun getting there. So how is they getting dark? It's biologically set. Biologically linked. For you to be connected to the universe. What? Through your brain. You close your eyes and come up with all kinds of visions. Stevie Wonder created all kinds of music. Blind. Hearing and seeing and feeling something different. That's that kabbalah. That's a real brain. Pretty much you don't see any color there because it's gray matter. But when you start looking at it and staining it, you can start visualizing things. And I'm not going to go too deep in there. I want to have a conversation with you. But again, you see that cavity right there, open area, there's the pineal gland. Sitting in open cavity. In Pigment Power, I talk about a chapter called penis psychosis. It talks about how the pineal glands are like a penis or a clitoris in your brain. So when you're meditating, getting the higher state of consciousness, that pineal gland gets stimulated, producing those chemicals. Serotonin.
It's like an unk.
Just like the Anki said?
Yeah.
The shape of it? Okay. Even the shape, the top of it.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Because people think about with the Ankh, the top part is like an ovum, bottom part the penis, and then life comes out. Symbol for life. So you're right about that. And even our ancient African ancestors, I say, got the third eye. I'm not the one that says that. The third eye vision from looking at the side part of the brain. I may have a area that shows that, but if you ever seen the third eye, it has like a long part up top. That's the corpus callosum. There's a dot in the middle, the thalamus. As it goes down strong, a little bump. The pons and medulla and cerebellum, all those images are right there, and what they drew thousands of years ago. Again, the dark areas. Dark areas are what we're talking about, where the melanin is deep in the brain, not from the sun. So, fast forward on to a topic called epigenetics. That means your environment, as you said, having an impact on your behavior. Changes the way your cells work. If you did not know, there's something called telomeres on the ends of your DNA. Telomeres, actually your chromosomes. Telomeres are like the eyelets. It's the eyelets of the shoelace. If you didn't have that end plastic portion on your shoelace, it would fray, right? It would be loose and not work right. So the eyelet becomes important. So those eyelets are called telomeres. They're shortened when people are stressed. That means people are stressed, those telomeres shorten, so it's changing what? Your DNA. Yes?
Does that relate to telomerase?
Yes. So that's the enzyme that helps with the telomeres. So without a question, those chemicals then become altered as a result of what? Environmental situations. So, the change impacting cellular and physiological phenotype traits may be due to external or environmental factors or be to normal development or enhancement. Sometimes maybe changes will happen to enhance you, help you out. We're dark people, but we're now living in a place where the sun doesn't shine anymore as much. So it has to get light in color. That's an adaptation. So Europeans think it lasts better in European or northern latitudes versus us being equatorial people around where the sun shines and we get sun conscious. I got that in Pigment Power. Don't steal my stuff. Yeah, I got that Dr. Moore, okay? So sun conscious. So the sun also triggers us to have what? Different things going on in the body. Could trigger cancer. But you don't know you'll feel good during a good day. mean, that sky dropped out before this presentation, but we're all right now, right? We okay now. Too bad it couldn't drop out in Hawaii. Help them out to squash them fires, but that happened. So on the left side here, so in Parkinson's disease, the top part is a pretty much, the bottom is a healthy brain because you see the darkness. The bottom is a healthy brain because you see the darkness. Unhealthy brain, those cells start to deteriorate. The person then suffers from what we see with Parkinson's disease, limited movement, tremors at rest. And I think, if you think about Muhammad Ali, they said he had Parkinson-like symptoms. So you saw how powerful he was in his heyday, but something slowed him down. I'm saying neurotoxicity did that. It ain't from getting hit in the head. That's pugilistic Parkinson's. They try to label it for him then, but nah, some people got hit harder than him. Nah, they silenced him. I know that was the baddest brother on the planet. Talking about you, whooping your butt and tell you history, and I'm not fighting your wars. Okay. Took him out. Slowly. Neurotoxicity. Another disease called Huntington's chorea. I'm only showing this because it deals with, again, the brain deteriorating. Chorea deals with choreography, movement. So for some reason, the people, you can't control the body. So it's like they label it as chorea, like choreography, like your body's moving. But it's because the brain's deteriorating. And it's a dominantly transmitted disorder via genes. Perhaps you've seen some storylines on it where people have Huntington's disease and it's like 35 years old, could be onset, and it's fatal. You're gonna die. Would you want to know when you were born that you have this? So you got your Law and Order, your CIS, all these programs talk about they killed somebody when they had this disease, and are they guilty or are they saving a life? But that's what Huntington's disease would look like. So, as you said about environmental pollutants in our environment, why our melanin may not be functioning as well. Mr. Kennedy asked that question about, are there things they can do to make our melanin not work right? Of course there are. So, up top, bisphenol A, if you ever heard of water bottles that says BPA free on it, it's saying bisphenol A free. That's what BPA means. So, those water bottles that may be cheap, that leave in the sun, the carcinogenic compounds can leach in there, you drink it, you get sick. So it says it's estrogenic properties. Right. Plastics can create estrogens in your body. There's soy products that are phytoestrogens. I don't know if you have any coffees that deal with estrogens or phytoestrogens, but that's naturally laden estrogen that then gets into your body. That's going to change how your body is going to be feeling. You think about all this mislabeling about who people feel they are anymore. They eat foods that make them feel like this. Endocrine disruptors. You ever seen a brother named Tyrone Hayes? Go with him. He did a presentation on when he worked for AstraZeneca. Focusing on atrazine. Studying the properties and how they influence behavior in cells. And he's showing that eight-legged frogs and fish with 4 eyes, and it was disrupting the way that the hormones work in the animal. He was ridiculed, vilified, and fired for doing the research that he was told to do. But these chemicals are destroying the body. PBDEs, polybrominated diphenyl F ethers, I think like flame retardants, problematic. And some of this stuff, like bromine, it's in some food products, not food products, but drinks like Fanta drinks. If you look at it as bromelated, bromine, bromate.
Oh, the energy drinks.
Energy drinks too? Metals, they're everywhere. Zinc is good for you, too much causes a headache. Iron is good for you, but iron depletion can be a problem. Aluminum. Aluminum's everywhere. Got it in your toothpaste. Got it in your deodorants that you use. I don't use those. I use deodorant. I just say I don't use the aluminum label lights. So, I ain't gonna say the names, what they might say. Okay, he talking about us, we have to penalize him on this stuff. No, but there's some things like right guard things you use, you know?
It's in the baking soda. You gotta get the aluminum free baking soda.
So long as you know. Right. But aluminum, that stuff can get in your body and it then collects where? In your body and your brain, in your organs. Oops. And then last two, organophosphates, so things that are in our like pesticides and things. herbicides, paraquat. You see now commercials on TV about that. Have you worked around paraquat? Do you feel like you have Parkinson's disease now? Well, now you have a lawsuit, and that's real. MPTP, the very last one for chemicals. Yeah, these white kids in California doing these designer drugs. We don't necessarily do that as an African people. Doing designer drugs, like creating things. They're developing Parkinson's disease at 20 years old. MPTP was one of the chemicals, created a metabolite, methylpyridine. This metabolite was destroying the cells. What? So, and then again, all the pollutions around our environments, problematic. So, if we looked at the enhancements, hip hop, higher brain function, dance rhythms, movements, higher brain functioning, drums and beats, everywhere we go, we can put a beat to it, right? And then sports moves and everything we do, this is about movements. And so, if y'all been following, right now we got track coming up. The World Championships coming up in August in track, but gymnastics, y'all know we don't do gymnastics, but we do gymnastics because you see us doing gymnastics now. They don't allow us to do this, not allow us, but we weren't in those kinds of areas. But we took it to a whole nother level. Anybody know the name of the person on the left? Dominique Dawes?
That's not, I'm saying, huh?
Dominique Dawes on the left, right?
Yeah.
Who's in the middle? Gabby Douglas? Who's in the right?
Simone Biles from Columbus, Ohio, my hometown.
What?
What was that?
Columbus, Ohio?
Zodiac sign.
Okay.
All changed the game, right? So Dominique Dawes, first black person to win an Olympic gold medal in gymnastics, first black woman to win an individual Olympic medal in artistic gymnastics. Gabrielle, first black woman in history to become individual all-around Olympic champion, only American all-around champion to win multiple gold medals in a single Olympic Games. Member of 2016 U.S. Olympic team, and Simone Biles, you know, she redefined the game. She won like 9 national championships by herself. Holds record for most gold medals won by a female gymnast in world championships history. First African American to become world all-around champion. Member of 2016 U.S. Olympic team. You have something to add to that? So we're talking about redefining the game. I'm saying that's Kabafa Pop. These are 3 different. It's not even the same ones I just mentioned. They now got that inspiration and that drive and their skill set from seeing others. Now this is 2022. Black Girl Magic Rocks U.S. Gymnastics Winter. So we get 3 sisters that dominated, not 1, not 2, 1, 2, 3 on the podium. Does that really happen in Wakanda? I mean, America, I mean, anywhere. Does it happen? When you allow us to have an opportunity, what do? Take it to a higher level.
Absolutely.
So, again, 3 different sisters. So, there's got to be some backlash. Is that what happened in Montgomery, Alabama? Backlash? Tired of this? Can't take it no more? You just got to lash out. Don't know what you're lashing out at? That with Tico disease we talked about earlier, just can't take it anymore? Just think about the dynamic of white men having their cheerleader daughters all singing around and jamming for these black men. You grew up as a racist, KKK, you got your little white daughter now doing cheerleading, rooting on these black guys. I mean, everything's disrupted now. And people can't take that, they lash out in the wrong way. So let's protect our people, such as the sisters right here. Because y'all saw what happened when that white man was molesting the girls. The doctor was a doctor.
And she spoke out as well.
She spoke out.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she did.
I mean, so Serena Williams, did we protect her? In Senate, did we protect Serena Williams?
I'm sorry, what are you talking about?
In terms of protecting,
Protect her from what?
protect them as our community.
Gotcha.
Because many of them have mixed families. Many of them from black and white families. They're mixed. But it's their kabafa that's popping to make them do what they do. Patrick Mahomes, he's mixed. But it's his kabafa that's making him do what he does. So we're not saying that like all black or mixed is a problem. What we're saying is, do we protect our people when they're struggling? We didn't protect Malcolm. He knew someone was out, we didn't protect him. I'm saying with the athletes. So with Serena, y'all know Serena caught hell. The most dominant tennis player on the planet. Still ain't catching her to do that she should be the best. That's just the one back-to-back and was able to make it to championships. You have these little white girls right now win one and done. Like Kentucky Wildcats. follow basketball, you know. Kentucky Wildcats, they play basketball, they leave it. So all I'm saying is that we have to protect ourselves, protect our people, rather than leaving them out there hanging. I know it's gonna be on video here, but you know, gotta check one brother now, you know, I think his name's Gail Monfils. Y'all follow? Yeah, so he married Selena, but he used to do this after he won. Used to. I don't think he do. But just that reality of he's still a dynamic entertainer and people love him. But he's changed the game for how tennis is played, but hasn't really won anything big. But I'm saying we need to protect our people. So that's why we need the right energy. Channel that energy in the right direction. That's why I'm saying it's dangerous. People are down, I guess, over there twerking with, what's her name? Beyonce in 10 more minutes. So it's 8 o'clock. People into that. That's what they want to see and do. And paying how much money for that?
Lots.
Yeah, literally.
Lots.
Y'all came here free. And got more than that. That's all I'm saying. So positive energy and channeling energy. So when I went to the source and I saw, now that's a monument. That's colossal columns. Okay, there's a column. How did they get that like other column on top of the column? Right, you can't even figure it out. I ain't gonna have you stretch your brain out about that. I was walking through the temples, you're just wondering, how the heck did they even carve this out in the stone? Did they have the same tools we have today? How did they even do this? So you see on the temples, you see like images of things that could be related today, like light bulbs. It's a little like lotus flower, like maybe the bottom part of that metal part of the light bulb you plug in. You got the glass part